Hey friends, so have you ever had a dream or a vision of looking up in the sky and seeing a bunch of UFOs? This is becoming a lot more prevalent now, and there's some more information coming out that adds some context to this, and it's very fascinating and very urgent in a way because we're talking about things that could be happening very soon. So, for example, my wife, who has a lot of psi abilities naturally, she had a dream just the other day where it was so real and convincing she woke up and ran outside and looked up in the sky because she was convinced that in the dream she was out in the parking lot with a bunch of her friends and they looked up and there was just like tons of these gigantic saucer shaped like motherships, right? And she ran outside when she woke up thinking it was real, and she was like relieved to look up at the sky and not see them. And this dream is not in isolation. I have had many people tell me very, very similar stories. I have had similar dreams myself. This seems to be a recurring thing. And you got to think the human mind, the human brain is an antenna that picks up these thoughts, and that thoughts don't exist in linear fashion the way that we think. You can pick up basically what I call future memories, a memory of a future event that hasn't happened yet, especially in your dream. So dreams are very precognitive. So just because you had a dream and it hasn't come true yet doesn't mean it won't. It could literally be a memory of the future. So first of all, drop me a comment if you've ever had a dream or a vision of seeing lots of spaceships in the sky. Now, this gets more urgent in this sense. There's a guy named Cliff High. Cliff High is an interesting character. I like him. He has this web-bot software that reads the internet and uses all these advanced algorithms to pick up basically precognitive sentiment from the public, and it can use this software, these algorithms, to make predictions based on what people are searching for, typing, talking about in forums and that kind of stuff, knowing that humans are naturally psychic and we just don't know it. So you can actually base future predictions on things that people are psychically interpreting and picking up and asking questions about and discussing. And he's had many predictions come true, some not, and he discusses the time aspect, how time is very tricky. But anyway, so there's a very specific one that he's been discussing for years. And the temporal marker, basically the the time marker that was going to signify the beginning of this big event, was the Trump and Joe Rogan interview. Now, he forecasted this back in 2009 and didn't know what to make of it because it didn't make any sense at that time. There was no context. It's like, okay, why would Joe Rogan be interviewing Donald Trump, and why would that be significant? Like, why would that be ushering in this new era that he calls sci-fi world? Okay, well, now we know that the two most unlikely people, literally the Apprentice guy and the guy from Fear Factor, just had one of the biggest interviews in the history of mankind. But, 15 years ago, if someone told you that, it wouldn't make any sense. You'd be like, who cares? Like, who would even watch that? But here we are. So he says that there's an event that happens after that. That's the temporal marker that signifies we're entering into this month or so period. He calls it 39 days to melee, which means that his other visions, predictions from doing all the stuff that he does, and then also reaching out to Dick Allgaier with the Future Forecasting Group and his team of remote viewers, saw all these things, and it all came together with the data, and they painted a picture where basically around 39 days from the Joe Rogan Donald Trump interview, there was going to be this melee in the skies that the Future Forecasting Group of remote viewers saw as airplanes, basically UFOs fighting UFOs and airplanes fighting UFOs, meaning that there was going to be a kind of a dogfight in the skies of our guys versus their guys, and even like their guys versus their guys, but different factions, because we don't know who all these UFOs belong to. So you could see a scenario where there's like the spheres attacking, because like I've talked about in many videos, they're this planetary defense network, right? So the spheres attacking saucers possibly, and our jets attacking them because that's our security. And that you have this melee in the skies that basically ushers in, like, melee is actually a military term, which basically means there's a military operation that breaks down, and it breaks down into chaos. That's what melee means. So the way they describe it is it starts off as a military operation and quickly breaks down into chaos, as you would expect from a bunch of UFOs and fighter jets fighting each other. This is what he sees happening around, this is not exact, but around 39 days from the Donald Trump and Joe Rogan interview. He thinks his intuition's telling him it'll probably be in January, but the data says around 39 days. Either way, it's pretty interesting because you mix that very specific remote viewing data and his web bot that uses just traffic from the internet and uses the algorithms to decipher it. You mix all this together with this increasing amount of visions people are having of looking in the sky and seeing ships. I had a UFO sighting with my wife not too long ago, and it was a gigantic ship in the sky. And I'm completely sober. I was awake. I was lucid. I was staring up at the sky. We were watching stars, and it was huge, and it was not ours, and it was very hard to describe. So seeing these in daytime, seeing these in dreams and visions, and then having all this data corroborate it, and all happening around this very tumultuous time that we're in, with this very defining election and period that we're about to go into, which I hope it's smooth, but who the hell knows? Look at the world. It's just very interesting. So I want to throw this out there because I'm actually curious about you. I'm curious, have you had any dreams and visions of giant ships in the sky? And if so, share, because you're definitely not alone. You might have had it and not want to tell anyone because you think people think you're crazy. The more I talk to people, I think it's kind of crazy if you haven't had one, because at this point it seems like it's pretty common. So I would love to hear everyone's stories and see if there's any commonalities between them. And I don't see any of this as like an alien invasion per se. It almost seems as if it's more like them versus our military and government. I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I kind of want to crowdsource this and see what everybody has to say about their own experiences. Anyways, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. Have a beautiful day. Peace.